it's tough sometimes to be a parent, and it's certainly tough to tell our kids who they should and should not be allowed to hang with. And I know this because I've done it. We all want our children to have a lot of friends, but we definitely don't want them hanging out with just anyone. Luckily, we have the #1 Yelp-rated family counselor in San Diego with us today. Mark Spurlock says we should be careful when setting boundaries for our children. Welcome back to Smart Life, Mark.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I have to tell you, it's amazing what a difference a year makes in the life of a teenager. I was thinking about this, just kind of reflecting on the way I've handled this, and I realized that with my 14-year-old, I'm hardcore. With my 18-year-old, I'm like, she's going to make some mistakes. I'm here to catch her when she falls, but she's essentially, she's 18.
Right.
She has to make some of these choices, even when they're bad, and I just have to kind of be the safety net.
Yeah.
It's just a completely, and it's only 4 years difference, but it's a huge difference.
Huge.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, what you're talking about is having a good judgment about how much influence do you have over your child and how do you exert it depending on whatever age they're at. So and it's a very common question that parents will come in and say, well, my child is hanging around these people or they're making bad decisions, okay? So, and depending at where they're at on that sort of age grid, okay, I want you to think of a parental influence like this, okay? It starts off very high when they're born, and then as they start getting older, it goes down like this.
Great point.
Yep. Now there's another factor too, since we're talking about it's called outside influence, okay? And it starts down low here, and then as they start getting older, it goes
higher
up
and
higher and higher.
So you're doing the crisscross
Exactly.
thing.
And you know where they meet, it's what I call the middle school shift. Okay, so somewhere around the middle school, outside influences become even greater than, say, that
It's
parental
fascinating
influence.
you say that because I am definitely right in that middle school point with one of my children.
Yeah.
And I noticed that my parent time expense is just exponentially higher with that child.
Right.
And so really we have to be ready for that as parents, but it really does start much younger, doesn't it? Because the establishment of that relationship, I just want to I just want to post the word relationship across the screen right now and say it's all about establishing at those young ages that relationship that is so tight and so honest and so trusting that by the time they are in that middle school cross grid thing, that they're still going to want to listen to us.
Yeah, and what I would say is the relationship changes to some degree. So in other words, the role of the parent changes. So when you're in the elementary school years, we're talking more of a caregiver, a teacher, someone who's who has all those direct influences that say, well, you need to do your homework, do this, and everything else at every step of the way. But when we start getting into junior high and high school, we're into what I call more coach, points and everything like that. Especially junior high is what I call sort of your coach years. Okay. Now, when you're in high school, we're in more mentor. Okay, it's exactly what you're talking about, 18 years of age, because at that point, we really have to see what kind of decisions are they making and having those consequences. So let the school of life be their teacher to some degree towards more of those years. Of course, if they're into problematic, very dangerous behaviors,
that's a different thing.
Yeah, that's what we're
it's a different thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because some of this is truly gray area. It really is. Now, and one of the things that I said, I think the helping professions are disastrous right here. If you have a child geared toward those helping professions who thinks they want to practice right now, so they want to take every little drug addict, every little child who's in all this problem, and they want to be their best friends because they want to help them. I myself went through this. You probably did too. I think people who are automatically geared to help people think that they want to make a career of that. They're more inclined in their young and less experienced minds during high school, junior high, to say, oh, well, I should make friends with the losers because the losers need me, right?
Well, I got to tell you, I was one of the losers, okay? So I was expelled from my school district when I was in 7th grade, Miami, Florida. Okay, so not even the school. They kicked me out of the school district. So and actually I got help through people who were very positive and all of that, So what I would say is with our children, no, don't abandon those guys, all right? But really it is about, okay, look, if your child is having friendships that are kind of sketchy for you, what you want to do is there's always 2 C's, okay, when we're dealing with children and trying to rein in their behavior. 1 is conversation and 2 is consequence, okay? And we need to have a good balance of each of those. So we want to have conversations about their friends. We want to have conversations about what they're doing as well. Okay, but we also want to have consequences about their particular behavior. So in other words, your child's behavior has consequences, and so if you choose to do this, then there's going to be a consequence. So we want to make sure that we're sort of maintaining a balance in both of those, but have conversations about their friends, hold them accountable for their behavior, and if you say, well, if you're going to be there, you know, where there may be illicit drugs or anything, and there's a consequence, you know, it comes to light, then there's definitely consequences for that. You know, and so if your friends are doing those kind of things, you want to talk about, okay, what's going on with your friends who are doing this, and then you say, well, this is coming to light, and maybe as a teenager you want to say, okay, who are you with and what are you doing, and you know, so I need to know what that information is.
The other interesting thing about that junior high age is they still have a lot of that concrete operational thinking, but which means that they think in black and white. But they'll do the black and white flip on the same issue. You know, they start to think that you don't know anything, and at the same time, because you're their parents, you ought to know everything.
Right.
So they might get incommunicative at that point. They might want to talk to you less because you should just somehow magically know.
Right.
And so these are some of the things that parents, especially if you're going around first time,
Yeah.
there's no manual, you might not know. So how do parents equip themselves best to confront those junior high years where you have all this strangeness starting to occur because of this cross grid you're talking about?
Well, what I would say is it comes down to three very simple things, really fast, okay? Now, for instance, when I have counseling with families, okay, there's always 3 points that I always try to make, okay, sort of 3 truths. One is where the parent side, okay, we're talking to the teenager there, okay, your parents want to know that you're safe and that you're making good decisions and are not going to affect your future negatively. And 2, you want more freedom. That's where the teenager goes. Okay, so those are always, green lights all the way around there. And so what I try to tell them very simply is we have a lot of room to work with based on those 3 criteria. You want more freedom, but you need to make good decisions, and you need to be safe.
Yeah.
And so if you have that sort of clarity, you can kind of get into, weaving all of that other stuff.
I like that. I like that a lot, and I think that would definitely work with them. When your child comes to you and says, "All right, I get it now. This friend that I've been hanging out for this last year has really taken a bad direction."
Right.
How do you advise your child? Do they stick by their friend who's been their friend until they were in trouble, or do they need to put that distance there? And if so, how do they say that?
Yeah. Well, I try to, just like I would with an adult, would say that to an adult is, look, friendships are about trust. Okay, but they're also about making good judgments.
Right.
Okay, and so, in other words, trust is you're honest with me and you're keeping our agreements as a friendship. But if you're making poor decisions that are, not good, and that is going to affect our relationship. So that's just part of a reality of life, and we have to kind of come to those terms.
What's the reality of your child being able to withstand that peer pressure? I know that in one particular case, I have one daughter who talks about, she does not drink, she does not do that stuff,
right.
but she goes to parties where that stuff happens all the time.
Right.
I may be, the whole joke might be on me, right?
Well,
in that you just don't know, but she is constantly verbally reassuring me that these things are true, and I have no reason not to believe her. So what are the cues that parents can pick up on if their child is able to withstand the peer pressure and maybe go to these parties or hang out with these groups where maybe they can be the one who's standing strong and therefore influencing others? Yeah.
Well, again, it comes back to trust, okay? Because your relationship with your child is important, and it's based on trust as well. And what is that? It's about you're keeping your agreements with me, you're not doing those kind of things, and you're being honest with me in regards to that. So I want to be mindful of the little things that you might be doing. That, one, you're not keeping your little agreements about that, or you're not being completely honest about that. So we want to be truthful in the little agreements, okay, or honest, keep those things straight, and we also want to make sure that we're keeping our agreements, so be faithful in the little things, and you'll also get the big things.
Oh, I like that a lot. I like that a lot, and I think, again, going back to that foundation, that critical relationship from the very beginning, because if you have that early and young, and you foster that, and you stay in communication, then...
And that really is the key. That really is the key. Like I said before, a lot of times people will come with the Child and Family Counseling Center, right? And they say, well, my kids have kind of got these issues. And really what we have to take a look at is the family and the relationship and what's been happening before the child is acting out, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly.
So build that relationship early, keep it, and grow with your child.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mark Spurlock, thank you so much for being with us. We always appreciate you on the show. So we're going to go to your phone calls and letters and all of that good stuff coming up. Oh, Mark, tell people where they can find you.
Mark Spurlock, MFT.com.
That's it. Your calls and letters coming up next. The number 888-650-8176, or you can go to the Smart Life page at moneybizlife.com and click on the Ask Dr. Gina button to send us an email, or you can contact me via Facebook or Twitter. Producer Jason, sitting back there in the dark crevices, looking rather green today. I can't lie. There's something going on. You're looking green. I don't know. We're going to get to that coming up. Stay with us. More Smart Life right after this.